Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports and the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Paulo Del Rosario. In tonight's game plan, we'll break down all the football drama behind the European Super League with former Ascal James Younghusband and Darren Hartman. We'll also get in touch with Santa Lucia's latest recruit, the 6'3" Lady Jet spiker Dell Palomata. And 15-year-old rising star Alex Eala joins us to share her inspiring story, balancing tennis and academics as she aspires to excel in the professional ranks. Joining us as always for our discussions is my co-host Laura Lehman. Lau, you have now settled on a background, half plants, half books. It's getting better and better every day.
Thanks, Pao. I'm trying to improve. Lessen the plants, lessen the books. So hopefully we have a better setup right now.
Yeah, I enjoy it every time, and it's as always great to have you here. And we got a great show for you here today as well. Now, for a moment, imagine teams like the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, and the Brooklyn Nets moving to another league after decades of establishing themselves in the NBA. Now visualize a PBA without Barangay Ginebra and the San Miguel Beermen. No Magnolia Hotshots, no TNT Tropang Giga or Alaska Aces. Right? You get that picture? Basically, leagues without their biggest draws. No Manchester United, no Chelsea, no Liverpool in the EPL, no Barcelona and Real Madrid in La Liga. And ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to imagine your favorite league without its most popular teams deciding to branch out on their own. And yet, for football fans all over the world, this was inches from reality when the formation of the European Super League threatened to change the sport forever. Now, you may have seen the headlines of protests, apologies, and possible sanctions left and right. But to better understand the collapse of the European Super League, we're bringing in PFL analyst Darren Hartman and former Philippine Ascal James Younghusband, who I think is trying to get into this call as well. But for now, welcome to the game, James and Darren.
Hello, good evening.
Hi guys, all right. So I wanted to start because I'm pretty sure I'm the least knowledgeable about football here. All of you guys are very knowledgeable about it. And if you ask me from a more general perspective, I mean, are you basically telling me that my favorite teams are going to come together and play in a superstars only kind of league? I mean, that kind of sounds great, but why was it not as simple as that? Why were there so many implications? Darren, would you like to start?
Well, for me, it was something that's been on the book for a long time, but it's just been rumours. And the timing of an announcement like this towards the end of the season caught even myself, an avid football fan, off guard. And yeah, it is or was proposed that the best, on paper, strongest 12 teams in Europe could have been potentially playing in a league together called the Super League. And it was a very, very dramatic last couple of weeks for football fans all over the world.
James, your thoughts on it as well? The sudden start and immediate collapse of this proposed Super League?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. A
Okay,
bit
cool.
canned up, but we can hear you well.
Yeah, okay, cool. Nice to hear you guys. Glad to hear everyone's all right and safe. Well, yeah, it was a very interesting 48 hours. Is that bad, the sound? Sorry. Is it okay?
Yeah, all right, go ahead.
So, yeah, it was an interesting 48 hours last week. I think every football fan in the world
gave us all something to talk about and something to group together as. It was something that I think there was whispers of before, but this one sort of came out of nowhere on a Sunday afternoon from the UK, late evening here in the Philippines. So the whole football world was shocked, and I think really it's a difficult one to say because, of course, we all know around the world there's political agendas and stuff, and it sounds like, and let's be honest, football is a business. All sports at top levels, they become business models, and it's a source of entertainment. And I feel everyone has their own agendas, but it was very interesting. But I think with the rallying of all the fans coming together, it put it on pause. There's rumours that it's still not finished. Some clubs are declining that this will end.
You know, it's so great hearing the both of you again. And just to let all the viewers know out there, I have challenged Darren to actually do part of this interview in Filipino. And James, feel free to join in as well in just a bit. So, Darren, so nakita natin yung mga fans sa labas ng mga stadiums of Old Trafford. You had some in Stamford Bridge going out doing rallies. Sa palagay mo ba, knowing that the fans suddenly started to rally in protest of the European Super League, yan ba yung turning point in terms of these teams deciding to pull out of the Super League?
Yeah, para sa akin, medyo may misconception din yung mga fans. Pasensya na sa accent ko. Dahil yung... Wait lang.
Kaya mo yan!
Dahil yung proposal ng league was dapat it's sabay sa Premier League. And I think sa mga fans, yung isip nila would be, yung priority nila would be the Super League, tapos hindi na sila naglaro sa Premier League. Pero hindi naman ganon. So, of course, sa avid fan, na working class avid fan, yung isip nila is paano manood ng games live. Kasi sa England, home and away, you can really make an effort to go to the games. Tapos major special yung mga trips to Europe. Like even me, hindi pa ako manood ng Champions League game live. Because for me, that would be a really big occasion. So I think, yeah, of course, natakot yung mga fans na baka less games that they can go and watch. But for me, there was a little bit of a misconception din because the proposal was sabay yung Super League parang on a Wednesday night or a midweek. Tapos maglaro sila sa Premier League at the weekend. So I kind of see both sides of it. As a fan myself of Manchester United, of course, I'm watching every game now from television or checking the results the next day. I don't really have the option to say nandito ako sa Philippines to go and watch the game. So hindi ako masyadong affected, but I really feel for the local fans, the season ticket holders, na feel.
Well, that sounds complicated enough. So going back to English, I mean, I read an article saying that Arsenal had kind of regretted the decision. I think their manager apologized and was saying that what needs to be addressed is what caused all these teams to break away in the first place. So, James, what do you think was the reasoning behind it?
I think the reasoning was really the negative reaction from all the fans. I mean, you even had protests outside the stadium. And I think it just shows, like, it is true, football is nothing without the fans. The fans are the ones who bring the money to the club in terms of buying merchandising, having their eyeballs watch the TV. Those are where the TV rights, where the biggest generation of income comes from. And I think by them getting all the big teams together, which, being honest, are the big draws for these networks, it would have really, like, just been really for the elite. But I think look, I'll be honest, I find football, it's still not perfect. There's lots of problems with the game still. I mean, even me, I get bored of watching a 0-0 at 4 a.m. Filipino time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even now, I've sacrificed my health to watch a 0-0. And I can understand where some things in the sport have to change.
Well, one of the biggest issues in terms of this proposal initially was that the teams leaving their respective leagues, their respective domestic leagues, or at least their proposal was to take them out of their leagues because of their move away from UEFA-sanctioned competition. That the teams below them, wherever the pyramids, would be affected by the money leaving their respective countries. So, Darren, if you're a lower league fan, if you're a fan of a team who isn't one of those big six, how scared are you for the health of your club, of your league that you're playing in, had this move come into fruition and those teams up there would have left?
Yeah, I'll go back to what James was saying about business models. And I think that the foresight of the bigger clubs is further into the future. And there are definitely some valid points that have been made by the structural organisers of the league. And one of those points is that there are less children playing football. There are more children who are, using computer-aided devices for their free time and not actually playing sport. So, if we go to the question of the lesser clubs or the lower league clubs struggling in terms of financial, I think partly what the Super League is also thinking is about they're going to be struggling in terms of actually providing players into their pathway in the future if things continue and we don't have something which excites a new young generation. For example, me and James growing up, we would have had role models to look up to in the league, and it was more than just Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. There's a couple of players that might take on that mantle, but when we grew up, we knew every single player from almost every single team in the Premier League. And I don't think it is the same way anymore. These clubs have taken massive growth over the last decade. And I'm pretty sure, for me, that the lower division clubs can take similar growth if they really put their minds to it and there was an opportunity to play at a higher level. So I see it from both ends. Number one, financially, business model, as what James has said, but also with my coach's hat on, I really feel that there are less kids playing. So something does need to be done. Is the Super League the answer? I don't know. But it's someone's interpretation of what the answer should be or could be.
All right, well, hopefully the business and politics of it all sorts itself out and we can all go back to enjoying football. Thank you so much, James and Darren, for joining us. Now, when we return, 6'3" Lady Jet spiker Dell Palomata shares her excitement to be part of the Santa Lucia Lady Realtors. Keep it here. You're watching The Game.
Welcome back. My name is Paulo de Rosario. You're watching The Game. As we all know, heroes come from different places with different stories. One may come from a planet called Krypton. Some may come from a galaxy far, far away. Some might even begin in a humble place called the Shire. And some may hop on a train and head off to a school of witchcraft and wizardry. But tonight we present to you a Filipina hero who is currently in Spain, a 15-year-old rising star who climbed the world's tennis ranks from 1,000 plus to 662 just this year. Alex Eala shares with us her daily grind as she balances her studies with her training to achieve her dream as a professional tennis player in this edition of Inside the Game. All right, now joining us, Alex Eala, the Filipina wonder kid of tennis right now, really setting the news ablaze wherever she goes, whenever she competes, and she is definitely a winner early on in her career. Alex, how are you? How are you there in Spain?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Could you give us a bit of an idea of what you go through on a day-to-day basis in terms of training? I understand you're actually still going to school. You're technically also a student athlete.
Yes, well, my day is very long, and I usually wake up around 6:30, something like this, and then I have training for around 4 hours, 2 hours 45 on court tennis, and then an hour and 15 of fitness, and then I have school the whole afternoon until 6, and then I have another hour of training after school.
Your schedule, it just screams to me like, yes, student athlete. And how tough is it to balance that? I mean, like, you're doing so much in such a compressed amount of time.
Well, it takes a while to get used to, but I think I've been doing it for so many years that I've learned my own way to work around things, and I have my own schedule where I focus more on my studies and times where I focus more on my tennis. It does get really hard, especially when I'm away for weeks in a row, but that's why I have my teachers to help me, and my friends also help me catch up. So I'm really grateful for them.
Well, right now you're dancing amongst the pros. You're actually going up against people almost twice your age. And looking at what you're going through right now in terms of going up against some of the more veteran people in the circuit right now in terms of tennis, who has coached you in that mentally, or at least helped you throughout this entire process of going up against people who have been doing this their entire lives and you dipping into this new environment?
I think I owe my mentality to my parents. They raised me with a mindset where that keeps me humble, yet still wanting to work hard and wanting to improve. And of course, I'm not perfect. There's still many learning experiences that I have to go through, but I'm very happy to have my family and my friends keep me on the ground and want to do more.
Could you give us an idea of what the road is like down the in a few years or a few months for you as you start this life as pro?
Well, I still have a few years left of high school. I'm in grade 10. And well, I definitely do want to finish that and get the best grades I can in terms of school. And then after that, I'll see where it goes. I definitely want to become or pursue a professional tennis career. But I think it's good to have a backup plan as a tennis player, So
sports first before school, but you know what? Alex Eala is doing it both and doing it at a high level. What is up next for you in terms of tournaments lined up? How is the process be deciding which ones to actually participate in and compete in? And in the immediate future, what do we have to look forward to?
Well, I think my next tournament is a few 15,000s professionals in Turkey, if I'm not wrong. And then I have a few tournaments before I go to Roland Garros Juniors. And then after that, still a little bit shaky. Things can always change because of COVID and the restrictions. You never know what can happen last minute. But for now, that's the plan.
Well, you have your slate starting to line up for you, at least in the immediate future. Looking at your performances tournament from tournament, you had a great start early on. You're getting farther and farther in certain tournaments. What was the most shocking moment or shocking transition from the juniors to the pros that as soon as you started on that path, you said to yourself that, yep, I'm definitely taking it a step higher now?
I think anyone who transitions can tell the difference between the two tours. I think that the pros are a lot more consistent with their games, and they're able to go so long matches, match after match after match after match, keeping the same intensity and keeping the same quality of the shot.
Who are the biggest voices that you're listening to right now in terms of your early career and in terms of you trying to develop as an athlete, as a person? I know your family's there for sure in your ear, but let's avoid the cliche answer and let's move on to who's really influencing you at the moment.
Well, I value my team here in the academy a lot. I think that they do, they're working really hard on making a program for me, and they're really assessing all the different aspects of my game. And I do value their opinion and I trust them. And if they say that this is not good for me, I trust them and I believe it and I won't do it. And if they say that this is good for me, then we'll try it out. And if I like it, then we go forward with that.
I read a quote from you recently saying that you like winning. And I think, but based on your performances so far and the way you go about your work, you're going to be winning more and more in the coming months and the coming years.
And that was Alex Eala with our very own Paolo Del Rosario on Inside the Game. Keep it here. You're watching The Game.
Welcome back. I'm Paolo Del Rosario, and you're still watching The Game. Now, unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, Dell Palomata won't be able to join us tonight. Again, this is one of the things that we have to deal with right now, especially in the middle of a pandemic and extraordinary circumstances. But I'm still joined here with Laura Lehman. And Lau, we just had a great interview there with Alex Eala. And we tried to make it a bit layman's for you in terms of the European Super League, and still a lot to dive into. But it was a great discussion regardless.
Well, speaking of Alex, Pao, I was amazed at how she was with you during your interview. I mean, she reminded us that she's only in grade 10. I don't think I could handle interviews when I was grade 10. Was there anything that you asked her that we weren't able to feature on the show? Because she does seem very amazing, accomplished. I mean, she's thinking of a backup plan, to say the least.
Well, I was lucky enough that our editors did a great job in getting all my questions in. I know I tend to talk a lot, but I think what amazed me in the course of our discussion is the fact that she did not seem like a 15-year-old in terms of her answers. She did not seem like this whole occasion was getting to her. She understands and she knows that the Filipino audience is out there watching, all the tennis fans out there, all the people who just want to see a Filipino do great in any sport are watching her. She feels it, but it's not going to her head. And I think that is the amazing thing for a 15-year-old to do.
By the way, did you get to ask her if she speaks fluent Spanish now? Because I'm curious if she's been there for so long, going to school in Spain.
I asked her, and I think, Lau, you speak better Spanish than her. She only speaks very little, un poco. I don't even know if I said that right. But yes, she knows a bit. She's learning, and I think that as she grows in tennis, she'll also grow in Spanish. So hopefully that does happen. But looking at her answers, I wonder if you agree with me here that she did not sound like a 15-year-old. She sounded like a veteran of the sport, knows how to answer, and it's not just cliche answers. They're very intelligent answers from a girl who's still growing in the world of sports.
I would totally agree. I mean, she mentioned her backup plan, as we said earlier. But before we go, I would just like to remind everyone that she's 5'9" and she's left-handed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
just
she
like
is.
Rafael Nadal. So she definitely has a great chance to showcase Filipino pride and talent. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have left for today. Thank you all for watching our show. I'm Laura Lehman.
Catch us on weekdays at 7 p.m. on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paulo Del Rosario, and this has been The Game.